whether I stay there for the rest of my life, I don't know. I'll probably end up maybe going somewhere else further up into the mountains eventually. But I just thought this is a really, really good place to start. And everybody in that community is Bitcoin. You know, they accept, obviously they accept Bitcoin for payment. You can pay any way you want. Bitcoin, I paid with Bitcoin, easiest transaction in the world. I mean, it was so fast, so simple, and that's how we're building our home too. You know, and yeah, just every just working with them was such a pleasure.
Oh yeah, peer to peer electronic cash in the 1,000 feet up in Panama. It doesn't sound like such a bad deal. Is there something I think I remember? I had Patrick on the podcast a while back. I think I remember him talking about Bitcoin mining being a
Yes.
potential element. Either is it for heat, or is it just because there's so much solar power generation that you can effectively earn sats mining and live for free? Like your cost of living is effectively nothing once you've purchased the property and all of that. Is something along those lines accurate?
Right. And right now, actually, so they have a little community center where everybody gathers when you first go there for that presentation. They have a Bitcoin miner running in the background. You can hear it. It's an ASIC miner. You know, you can tell when they're running. So as far as like in the homes, if you choose to run a miner, the system that they're going to have in place will run one miner. I mine also. I do have more. I was talking to Spencer, Patrick's son, about increasing the size of my service, and I told him what I wanted to do, and he said, "Man, that's going to be quite a feat because it would be so large." So I'm going to scale down. I'll probably just run one, and so there are HOA fees involved with owning a home there, but they're really minimal. It's based on the size of your home, the cost of your home. Um, I would say average they're maybe $100 a month, $150 a month. So that miner, they're hoping that you run that miner, that would pay for your fees each month.
That is incredible. Like I just can't. What I'm hopeful for is that what Patrick's doing and what you're buying into here is like the few. To me, this is like the Bitcoin Citadel that people are talking about, right? It's not like a zombie apocalypse sort of thing. It's like a peaceful community that opts in, just like we opt into Bitcoin, that opts into sort of a way of life and a way of living. And as I recall, there's like a DAO that like your HOA is really sort of some sort of means of like voting as a community on any changes or anything, but you're all sort of locked in and agreeing to broadly like the principles under which you'll operate, if that's if my memory serves me right. Which I just think is an amazing thing, because like what I talk about when I talk about my issues with government today, it's that, by and large, we've got a far off federal government who has no real interest in my life, no perspective on my needs, desires, anything, making a lot of determinations. And it's not that I'm opposed to some form of governance, but a federal government doesn't make any sense to me. An HOA is annoying. Like the
Hmm.
reputation they have in the US is obviously they're annoying. They tell you can't put a fence up, blah, blah, blah. But for a smaller and smaller group of people, whether at the family level, a small community level, to be making those decisions together and saying, hey, we're going to reject this particular thing that you want to do for the sake of this community that you've agreed, that you've opted in to be a part of, not simply because you were born here, but because you bought a lot at Veritas Village, for example, that's how we're going to decide what you can and can't do versus, again, Congress, U.S. Congress making those decisions. To me, I don't. To me, that's what's so beautiful about it. It's not that you have unlimited freedom to do anything and everything you ever wanted, but you are operating within confines that you've consented to. Is that maybe a way of framing what you're describing here?
Yeah, I mean, they say often, like, there you can do, as long as you can do whatever you want as long as you're not bothering anybody else. And as far as like the HOA thing, it's not really, like you said, it's not a typical HOA like we would have in the US. It's there's no body, there's no president saying, you yes, no, it's not like that. It's just, it's, if there's a change or something you want to see differently, you just bring it up, and people will just talk about it. And it's simple.
I love that because like even in the town that I live in, I have an illegal 125-gallon fuel reserve tank on my property, and nobody can see it. Like if law enforcement showed up to my house, they wouldn't even know where it is. But technically, it's not allowed because they make this blanket rule that just applies to everyone. There's no workaround or anything. You'd have to fight with the government, and so I just tell them I didn't bring any attention to it. Hopefully, they don't watch this podcast. But it's those sorts of things that it just make no sense. But in an environment like this, you can just operate as a like as a mini free market, and as long as you don't violate the non-aggression principle, then you get to live in peace. And it's and the other cool thing, I think, what it sounds like to me, based on talking to Tony, talking to you, talking to Patrick, is it's by virtue of the like-mindedness of the community, you're probably more likely to benefit from the changes that other people make, because they'll invite you into their prosperity and into the perks and amenities that they choose to employ in their deploy in their homes. To me, this is just like about as good as it gets. I will say, Corey, I live on a family compound with my brother, his family, my sister. Like it's just our little private. So we sort of have that set up here in the U.S. The drawback that you really hit on is the climate in St. Louis, Missouri, is probably not the climate that you experience. So I understand your desire to escape to the tropics. Is the hey, speaking of the climate and the environment, is the are the beaches in Panama as amazing as I would imagine?
There was a trip we took last time to Tobaga Island. It's a ferry that'll pick you up and take you out there. It's a half an hour ride, and so, but it was a private island. But we
Okay.
did spend a day out there. So,
How, how's cost of living? Like y- y- everything pretty affordable, or
so if I did find out that if you're there's a big difference between being a resident and just an expat, or with no residency, if you're just a tourist, I should say. There's a big Everywhere you go, you have to it's advisable to show your residency card, because you'll get you know discounts. So I sometimes forget that, and we would go out to dinners. Food is expensive, you know so
everywhere?
I and now this is within the city, so this is kind of in the business district. Everything is gonna the cost of living is going to be a little bit more. When we usually get an Airbnb, those are very affordable, uh probably half or a third of what you would get them for in the US. It's and they're pretty nice. But yeah, I guess I know for sure when you live outside of the city, uh people often said the cost of living is like a third of what it is in the US.
Wow, wow, that's
And the
incredible.
healthcare too. Most people don't even, if you're healthy, you don't even carry health insurance.
Really? So you pay cash if you need something, and
Yeah.
it's
It's
reasonable.
so cheap. It's so inexpensive. I know, if it was last year, one time Patrick had fallen or something, and he had some rib issues and maybe some other stuff, and they did x-rays. He went to the hospital, had everything, whatever's all entailed with that, and his bill was $140.
Unbelievable. So if anyone listening is in the U.S. or probably Europe, and well, I guess a lot of Europe is socialized healthcare, but in the U.S., you're being robbed every time you have to go somewhere, and you're paying a $5,000 deductible, and then co-pays and all of this nonsense.
And
Um,
everything is like that. I mean, and they have great healthcare too. I mean, it's one of the top rated healthcare systems in the world. The doctors there, a lot of them are trained in the U.S. And then they'll go back there. But it's a lot of people. I mean, there's a lot of misconceptions about countries like that. People just think that they're third world countries. There's no development, and they really get the wrong idea. And I said, you really got to see it to appreciate it.